everybody. This is Jackie Woodside, the founder of the Conscious Living Summit and the Curriculum for Conscious Living. We are here enjoying this series of conscious living exposés and discussions about really what does it mean to live a conscious life? Are you living consciously? How do you know if you're living consciously? There's a lot of people and teachers and speakers out there today talking about awakening, talking about consciousness. And yet there's a lot of diverse messages. So I wanted to bring together some excellent teachers, speakers, entertainers, people who are going to really elevate our understanding, our walk toward living a conscious life. And today it is absolutely my honor and pleasure to introduce my friend and world famous podcaster, Brandon Beacham. Brandon and I met a few years ago when he had me on his Positive Heads podcast. It is one of the most popular podcasts out there, the Positive Heads community. And he's an author and really just a world-class consciousness awake human being. So Brandon, thank you so much for being with us today. You know, I just want to dive in. So really, thank you. I know you've got.
Thank you for having me here. It's such a pleasure to see your face and hear your voice again. Felt amazing.
Awesome.
From the jump.
Great to be connected again. So let's dive into this topic, right? Let's just start with the most broad question, and we'll navigate from there. So what's your understanding? What does it mean to you when we hear this phrase conscious living? What does it mean to you to live a conscious life?
Well, it's a great question and a great place to start. I would say make sure you have, a handle of tequila and a box of cigarettes, and that it. Just kidding. Although,
yeah, right?
I mean, well, maybe anything. It may be right. Actually, anything. Is it conscious or unconscious to have that, slice of cake when you are in a state where that's going to, bring you joy, and it reminds you of your grandmother that you miss, and so I think that's a big part of it. I was kidding, but it really leads me into a good point, and that is, everything, the quality you bring to the moment, really it dictates the level of consciousness in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
I was talking about this with my friend yesterday, and she was talking about how so many people, there's so much noise out there around this topic, and more teachers popping up than ever before. And she was talking about how interesting it is for her. She has a close friend who will spout a lot of, truths, quote unquote. And she's like, but they never land because he doesn't really live it. He doesn't fully even understand, I don't think, what he's saying. Now you can take that same statement that he's making, and it coming from someone who truly has integrated it and feels it in their heart and soul, and now it's going to land in a totally different way. So words are just, surface level. They're a delivery mechanism for an energetic offering that is coming from the being that is, projecting, casting casting a spell with their words. And so I think that is a big part of it. Is the more embodied you are, the more it's going to land.
Well, let me pick up on that, because what I hear you saying is that one of the ways that you'll know you're living a conscious life is that if there's integrity, if there's alignment between what you believe, what you're saying, what you're doing, and if you will, the vibe or the energy pattern that you're living in.
There you
go.
So
there's some synergy between what you teach other people and how you're living your life yourself, the vibe that you give off.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you touched on something that I outline in my new book, The Golden Key, which is if you want to know the outcome of any undertaking, look at the intention and what is the energy of it going in.
Wow. Wait, hold up. That's so good. That's so good. Say that again.
If you want to know the outcome of any undertaking,
okay.
We always are, we set off on a path and like, where is this going to go? Where is, how is this going to play out? What is the intention and the energy foundationally of the action? What's your why? What energy, what quality of energy and intention are you bringing to it? Years ago, my grandmother, who, who passed away 20 years ago, or so. My brother and I, at the time, several years after she'd just been gone, not very long, we formed a band, and we were, our dream of making it big in music was a big deal. And we were around our bass player's brother was in No Doubt, which was one of the biggest bands in the world at the time. And so it was kind of around us, and we really, had dreams of making it big. And so he had a dream where our dearly departed grandmother appeared to him very lucidly, felt like a visitation kind of dream.
Wow.
And so he used his airtime with Moo, as we called her, to ask her, what's going to become of the band? If I've got airtime with grandma on the other side, give me some oracle readings,
Yeah, I'm going for it, man.
I'm going for it. And she said, and it's always stuck with me, and I actually put this in my book. She said to him in that state, "You're going to get out of it exactly what you put into it." And it's very much reflective of that same thing. What energy is going to it? What attention is going into it? It's going to be reflected in the outcome. Wow. And it's just so simple and so profound.
That, it's interesting you say that, because I've always heard that phrase, and how I've interpreted that phrase is you've got to work hard. That what you have to what you put into it is hard work, but you are bringing a whole new different interpretation to it, which says, what energy are you going to put into it? And it's that energy, of course, that is creative.
And what vision, right? In that case, you're telling me a perspective, and that's one that's near and dear to my heart and experience, this idea of I'll outwork everyone. I'm such a doer. That's been my journey. I've been a slow study in realizing, and I just was talking about this the other day. The last year, someone asked me, what's the biggest growth? Biggest growth for me in the last year, Jackie, is to just, do less and be more intentional in my, not just to chase an outcome of some kind, and to get, to work smarter, not harder. Really, like sometimes the most beneficial thing you can do to the outcome is take a day off and go on a hike, right? Like how often
why, Brandon? Why is that one of the most beneficial outcomes? What does that give people? And also, I want to pick up on that phrase that you used, work smarter, not harder. What does that mean? Why is it good instead of chasing, which I understand where you're going with this, but I really want to break it down and get more specific.
Yeah. So I always say we have very varied paths in life. Obviously, all of us, very different experiences, walks of life, but there's one thing that is in common that we're here to learn, which is self-love, and that we have the same job. We may have different careers and paths, but same job. And you may not even know that this is the number one job, but managing your vibration. So that which is like unto itself is drawn. Water finds its own level. So where are you at vibrationally in your day? Are you in a state of scarcity? I've got to chase. I've got to prove something. I've got to have more followers. I've got to have more downloads. I've got to have more, money in my bank account. Are you realizing now is this is the moment? Now is all there is.
Yeah.
And perhaps what is my own feedback of my body and heart and mind telling me about what's in the highest and best for me? How can I honor myself the best? Well, we've all heard stories like when you let go of something, then it's like you can have what you don't need anymore. So once you stop the chase, like, oh, I'm going to just surrender to what is. I'm going to honor my body and my need for rest and recuperation, and energetically, that's moving things energetically. You're as a creator being, as one with the source consciousness that creates and animates all things, we create with our vibrational offerings. So, if I'm all of a sudden saying, I deserve to relax, I deserve peace. Yes, there's many things it's like numbers, or you see so many people who get really wealthy. The loop with that is number endless. Yeah. So it just becomes like an addictive thing to chase.
Right.
You can't win that race.
Right.
And so it's like the idea of the old like Zen saying, or everyone should meditate 20 minutes a day unless you're too busy. You should
Right.
meditate for an hour.
Right. I love that. I love that. So I'm going to ask you an interesting question, which relates to. I'm going to ask you two questions at the same time, and you can sort it out. So one of the things you said is, well, you just got to, practice self-love. And if you need to take that day off and listen to your body, totally spot on, dude. I get that. I'm a doer too. I love being in action. I love the energy of creation. So taking a day off doesn't come naturally to me. But I work with a lot of people that part of their issue is being activated, actually getting going, getting things. So how do you know the difference between consciously listening within and creating the path through energy and through attunement versus just, let's face it, the ego's proclivity toward procrastination, right? All right. So that's question one. And that will lead you into, and then the caveat question, or maybe this is the superseded question. How do you know when you're making a conscious decision versus, I don't feel like it? The whims of the ego. We're in the flesh. We've got the ego going on. So how do you discern that? So two questions in one, and I'll let you play with it from there.
What a question. And, at the end of the day, certainly we can lie to ourselves at times.
Yeah, probably really well.
By our own BS, by our own BS. But if we're really taking a moment and, I always admire when I see someone, you ask a question and they're not doing it for show. They're thoughtfully saying, let me sit with that for a moment. Because I'm someone who's usually just all over it. And so when I see that, it's like,
dive right in.
And there's certainly some people that may have done that for show, which is maybe not authentic, but there's a lot of, very authentic, people who address situations in that way. So what are they doing? They're actually taking the time to go within and really feel into it and explore. And it's just like any muscle, I believe. If you're willing to do that, you're going to get better at discerning these subtle differences between, what is just a procrastination, opportunity for the ego versus authentic. This feels like the highest and best for me to demonstrate my abundance of time, and I can stop and smell the roses and recharge. Because how can you really be a benefit if you're going to work, go, and you're doing it from a depleted state? What's the quality? What's the intent? What's the energy that's going into it?
Energy going in. Yeah. What you put into it is what you get out of it. So let's play that out a little bit. Then I want to go back to the second question. How do you discern that for yourself? But so if you're putting energy of depletion into it, right? Like, oh shit, I got to get this done. Oh, I have this thing. I said I was going to do it. If that's the energy going into it, or even like, oh God, I got to get this done, right? If it's that kind of resignation or tension, if that's the energy that goes into a creation, what do you project will be the outcome?
I believe that the outcome could come in many, many ways, but in some way it will reflect the tension. It will somehow reflect anxiousness. It will somehow reflect at some level. I mean, how that could look is very varied. However, and that's why if you do have something to do, obviously we all have, we do live in a 3D reality where time is something that we do live by clocks to some degree. And so, okay, I have to turn this paper in by Friday because the teacher said I will fail if I don't. That is, okay, that's a hard stop that's set up in my world. And just in your very best to bring that calming energy to it, that taking a moment and, the power of breath, deep breathing. Whenever we're anxious or upset, if you look at our breath, it's shallow and fast. If you are breathing really deeply, it's one of those things too. It's like, my book is all about tapping into abundance. You look at the primary resources, water, air, food, we can go 40 days without food, we pay for it. We can go 4 days without water-ish. These
Yep.
are
Yep.
the general statements. 4 days without water, we're paying for it. Air, we can go like 4 minutes.
Right.
and it's infinitely abundant, and the only resource that's still free. So it's a reflection of the abundance that is always there for us. So I like to think of it as, if I'm breathing deeper, and especially if I want to react to something, and I breathe deeply into my heart and slow my breathing and expand it. So if my ability to deal with the stress of a situation is like this, if everything's a reflection of everything, and it's like this when I'm breathing shallow, if I breathe deeply, all of a sudden it's greatly expanded the capacity of how I can manage whatever's in front of me. So I believe that's a great, simple tool. The most underrated tool is paying attention to your breath and practicing deep, slow, steady breathing.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it clears the mind. It brings more oxygen. It's just like on all levels, it's helpful.
It's fabulous. Mark Waldman, the co-author of How God Changes Your Brain and Your Brain on Enlightenment, a few books like that. He teaches a lot about the importance of yawning. Because what is it doing? It's doing exactly what you said, taking in that deep breath. So that's a great, great tool that you're giving to us and to listeners. Just breathe, slow down and breathe. So I want to go back to that question, the caveat question, which is like, how do you know when, kind of the ego is taken over, you've gone unconscious, you're having an unconscious moment. How do you know? And then what do you do? Maybe it's coming back to the breath, slowing yourself down, but what do you do to bring yourself back into presence and consciousness?
So if it's my ego steering, it's going to probably be sporadic energy, reactionary energy.
Okay. What do you mean by sporadic energy? Reactionary?
Oh, this happens and I need to jump. There's some urgency and stress. There's some stress tied to it.
So stress, right? Reactivity. Yep.
Whereas the higher self, the part of me that was there, the silent observer that was watching Brandon, the avatar, play itself out at 5 years old, and will be watching when I'm 95 years old, the unmoved mover that's calm, and it's like the eye of the storm in a sense. It has a different quality to the decision making, right? It feels calm, and it feels sure, and it feels unaffected by the measly 3D kind of things, and it's just like, no, this is the path for you right now. This is going to lead to the best results. It's like I often say, we're these composite beings. We're doing this dance with our higher self.
Yeah.
And so you have your ego self. My human is doing one thing. My human's playing checkers, right? But my higher self is playing chess. So if you understand, I can have an idea about what I should or shouldn't do at a very, base level, human level, but I now have gotten to a point where I'm like, and I can say, I have an expectation. A lot of people say expectation is the enemy and bad. And I don't believe that at all. I believe attachment to expectation is the problem.
Exactly.
So set an intention, set an aim, set in, course based off of everything your human can see and perceive and understand, with a healthy sense of detachment, knowing there's this other part of you that's co-creating, that is playing chess, and it sees the board in a way that you just can't. And so when you can relax into that, that understanding, it brings great sense of peace for me, because it's like, oh, I have this aim with a new partner, relationship, whatever. And I don't fully know what is in the highest and best. I have an idea, and sometimes I'm right, and that feels great. And then if it doesn't pan out that the way I intended, especially if it's something I really want, and then it's like close but not quite,
Yeah.
And it's like, and you and I talked about something in my life that I could equate that to, before we started recording. And it's like, wow, okay, if that does slip through my hands, it's like, as incredible as that potential was, and this this person was. And it's like, I then follow that up with the story of this or something better.
Yeah.
So if that was so close, but there's something even better,
Yep.
wow, I can hardly wait.
Right.
So it's like, it isn't over if I haven't won, So it's like, instead of, this defeated sort of energy, it just spurs you on, like, I'm getting closer. These are signals. These are signposts. It's so many times in relationship, I think everyone can relate to that. Close but no cigar. It was a miss. Miss. And
so great. So you're pointing to another really important factor that I want to pull out. It's such a great nugget to help people recognize when they've gone unconscious, and that is attachment. Attachment to an outcome, the way that it's supposed to look, the way that it's supposed to be. I'm going through a similar thing, raising a teenage son, having some issues, emotional mental health problems, as a lot of kids are, for sure. And what I've had to grapple with in that process is my attachment to the life I thought I was going to have as a parent, the way I thought it should be. So, attachment it's such a clear indication that the ego has taken over and is in charge. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I fully, and it's like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I have so many questions I want to ask you, but go ahead.
I'd like to just add just a thought to that, because I definitely feel a connection to your statement of having a challenge with a teenage son. And my sister has a similar thing. My nephew has Asperger's syndrome, and it was a lot of challenge younger years especially. And so then I think of my partner who works with literally right now she's at school with a bunch of high schoolers who this is the last stop. They've been kicked out of everywhere else. There's a lot of mental, as she puts it, if this was the 1800s, they'd all be in insane asylums. And so instead she's dealing with them. And a lot of it is social skills. And, she's a speech therapist, but a big part of it's social skills. And so, I look at her journey, it's the chess viewpoint. Like, okay, so when she was a teenager, was very troubled and got in some big trouble and, arrested. And people are shocked when they meet her now, because she's this like super student, so into her work. And, so now she gets to turn around and share, and she shares her breakthroughs with me all the time, like, oh my gosh, I had the opportunity to work with this, and I could see the light bulb. I could see that I got through, and I got to, in a way, it's healing my own, troubled past as I get to help heal this young man or woman. And so, if you can take on that perspective with what you're dealing with, I mean, someone like her, she got in some big trouble, and like, and her parents, probably similar to you, very together, very successful, very well adjusted. They're like, oh my gosh, our daughter, like why?
How did this happen?
How did this happen? We're just, we couldn't be further from dysfunctional. And now she is, using that as a tool to help young people. So, hopefully that gives you some bit of hope.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate that. Yeah. Fortunately, he hasn't gone down that path of getting in that kind of trouble. Although notice my attachment already. Immediately, right? How it should be. But he really is just kind of, if you will, failure to thrive, not engaged, not doing the things that he needs to do to grow. So
one thing that's sure, change is guaranteed with the situation.
Yeah,
one way or another. With the only thing we can say for sure.
Yeah,
and there's
and for me, that's where I've got to dive in and let go of my ego's need to control, to have it look a certain way, to what my attachment was. So, for those listeners right now, look in your life, right? So Brandon's got it in a relationship. I have it in a family situation, a parenting situation. Maybe you have it in a situation with your career. But really look, where do you have that reactivity, that judgment, that quickness to need to react and do something? And that's all stemming really in attachment. So great. Brandon, so So let me ask you two things. I don't know why I'm throwing two questions at you at a time. It's really not fair.
I love it. I do the same thing.
It's because
like
you're so brilliant and I'm not a good interviewer. That's what we got going on here.
Actually, okay, if I'm brilliant, I throw like 3 questions at people. So we're both doing it.
Good. All right.
So you're brilliant too, because your mind's going so fast.
Right. It's my mind is going so fast and I don't want to lose either one of them. So 2 things. I'm going to assume, well, maybe you did. I don't know. Did you pop out this way? Have you always been, kind of this aware, this awakened, this committed to conscious living? And when you find yourself in those unconscious moments, what do you do to bring yourself back? So those are the 2 questions. And again, you can dive in wherever it feels comfortable.
Yeah. I can tell you, I did not come out on the day of my birth as Buddha, and I'm far removed from it
next
now.
Life. In your next life.
Next life. So, it's definitely been a daily conscious effort for me. My journey's about 25 years of exploring the ultimate nature of reality and understanding my own relationship to source, that I'm, this idea that I'm one with everything and it's all an extension of self. Everywhere I go, I'm there waiting for myself, and it's all feeding me back to me in a way that's for my growth and good, even if it's challenging, especially if it's challenging. That's great theoretically. 25 years ago, I got that. Now, as Mike Tyson said, everyone's got a plan until you get punched in the face. Right. And so, this is the way it is. And I get it. And all of a sudden throw some, a crazy girlfriend at me, or a person cutting me off on the freeway. And that's unjust. And how dare you? And so it's been definitely a journey to get to a point of proactivity as opposed to reactivity. And I still slip? Absolutely.
Yeah. Daily, right?
Daily. I guess I have days where now I think I have days where I'm like, Brandon, you couldn't have navigated that one much better.
Nice. Okay.
But you want to take me within a week? I within a week, due to some relationship challenges, I slipped into patterns that I haven't slipped into in a long time, which is kind of like a little bit mean and making fun of someone else. And, and then I'm like, that's old energy. Like, oh my gosh, that's still there. And I think that's a part of our journey, is like understanding that we are layers, like we're like onions, and we circle back. Our evolution is a spiral. We circle back on things that we think we've already completely passed for further clarification and release. And situations are created for that very purpose, to give us that opportunity. And the really important thing to do when that slipping happens is to love yourself there and say, okay, I did this. This is not my brightest moment. And, I'm not proud of what I did. And I know it was also very challenging, and I'm going to do, what inspires me along, Jackie, is whenever I slip, I'm like, whew, I'll give myself a C- on that one, or whatever. If I'm grading myself, like, well, Brandon, prepare for the retest. It's inevitably coming my way. The universe is going to give me the opportunity to do it better until I get it right. So it really inspires me. It's like, do you want to experience that again? Because if you don't, you might want to really get it right.
Yeah, right.
And so that's how I really helps fuel me, that sort of motivation of, I don't want to go through this again. Get it right,
So
and
great.
so when I do like fall short, it's like, okay, that's okay. I'm going to get the opportunity to do it again. That's my punishment. If that's a strong word for it.
Yeah.
That's my medicine.
It's your path. It's your medicine.
Path.
It's your path.
Yeah. And so get, the old Chinese proverb, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. I'm just going to get up. I'm going to dust myself off, and I'm going to try again. And I know that this is the dance of my own evolution. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Yeah.
It is a spiral.
That's the spiral, right? Back. Spiral dynamic. So I love that. So one of the ways that you bring yourself back is, first of all, you didn't say this, but awareness, like, oh, there I am again, right? Self-talk. And then self-love. I love that. I bet a lot of people can really benefit from thinking about that. Not just self-love on the days that it's going well and you're, kind of, pleased with being present, although that means the ego's getting involved already, right? But you're really just centered and you're in that space, self-love, but you're saying, oh no, when I'm being a jerk, when I just told that person off, when I lost my center and was being sarcastic, that's when I need to bring self-love. Recognize this is my path, this is my process. I can do it better, because if I don't want to, if I don't want this to keep repeating itself, I can. That's
Yep.
really, really fabulous.
And what feels really good when I am having a low moment, is in the past, my ego was so invested in those low moments, and it was like, it was not wrong. I was righteous and justified. Now it's kind of funny because I had one of these moments in the last week in a way. I saw a side of myself I hadn't seen in a very, very long time. And what was great about it, though, Jackie, in the moment, I could, even though the ego's acting out, there's the part of me that's created enough separation from it where I can say, oh gosh, you're doing this. And so I literally, as I'm being sort of ugly with my partner, I'm also saying, look, I know I'm just being jealous or angry right now. Like, just allow me to move this energy. I'm sorry. And then, it's like this, it's almost like these two parts of me, like, okay. And that's a thing. See, it's energy, and it needs to express itself some way. Our aim is to find the healthiest way to move the energy. And sometimes it looks ugly, and we're using old methods to achieve the aim.
Yeah.
And so then, you get a little bit better. Okay, here, I did this thing I haven't seen myself do in a long time. And yet I brought some awareness into it. I literally called myself out in the moment of, okay, I'm acting like a jealous idiot. I know. And please, just don't take it personally. I'm moving energy. This is the only way I know how to do it.
But even that, being able to say that requires conscious living, because you're observing yourself, you're being responsible for yourself. You're not projecting it outward. You're recognizing that the experience is over here.
Yep.
So great. Hey, there's going to be a lot of, and I mean, your wisdom and what you just shared with people was huge about relationships. But there's going to be a lot of people on this, watching our summit that are entrepreneurs. So let's just shift gears just a little bit. Tell me about conscious living in business, because you're an entrepreneur. You're extraordinarily successful. You're an icon. So what is it how does conscious living show up for you in your business?
Such a great question.
Oh, right. And we could do a whole other interview just on that.
A whole other, yes.
Conscious living in business. Let's do another summit.
Once again, my journey has been really profound with that, because I started out, obviously words are a big part of my dharmic path, and you start to learn. I don't know if you've ever done Gene Keys. Are you familiar with Gene Keys by Richard Rudd?
I'm not.
Oh, it's so profound and poetic. And it's, basically this guy, Richard Rudd, had a very powerful spiritual experience 30 years ago where he got downloaded this information supposedly, and he put it into a book that tells you your genetic potential. It's kind of like it's like astrology, numerology, I Ching kind of based stuff. And saying in our genetics, we have you have a genetic chart, your gene keys, and those keys, you have a shadow, a gift, and a city, which are like the low expression of it, the gift of it, and then the most ultimate expression of it. And for me, my primary gene key, the shadow, is manipulation. Using words, this person who has this as their primary is really good with words, and originally uses them to manipulate, and then realizes like, oh, hold on. All deception is an act of self-deception. I'm using, it's all me. Everywhere I go, I'm there waiting for myself, and, and then you start using that same power as the gift to, using it to help everyone. Yeah. And then ultimately you learn like you're part of a bigger puzzle that you surrender to, and leads to the ring of no return, merging back with source, and really profound. But so for me, with business, it's back to that intention piece. In the early days, I can look at, doing a lot of like sales centric stuff and running sales companies and having hundreds of employees. Early days, it's like, my moral compass, I've always been good at my core, but my moral compass was probably not nearly as sound in my younger years, 20 years ago or so, than it is now. And then now I can't, what I would say is, for entrepreneurial ventures, or any sort of thing. Gandhi said, if you want to find yourself, lose yourself in the service of others. And I believe that holds true because there are no others. So
there are no others.
once that's why it holds true. So all of us are going to our dharmic path in some way, shape, or form is going to involve service. This is how we receive by giving it to others, because we're playing this 3D game of other, which is really illusory. You're always doing it to self. And so if you can just say, where is my highest excitement, and trust that there's something for me that I'm the perfect candidate for. Out of every human who's ever lived, including on the planet now and prior, there is no one more perfect for this position than I am.
For this moment, for this task, for this task, relationship with my colleague.
And if I haven't found it yet, how exciting, because that means it's ahead. Right? And so you are acting as if it's not if, but when, because of your own self-worth and self-love. You know how divinely orchestrated the universe is, that, there's never been a more worthy being in all of eternity. You are the pinnacle of the evolution of 14 billion years of evolution to lead to you. The atoms that make you up were a star previously, lived out as a young adult, mid-age, old age, died a violent death, and its guts were strewn across the galaxy and reformed as you. You're just the last 400 years alone, 2,000 grandparents, sacrifices, pain, heartache, to pinnacle that is you. And you're going to judge yourself and say, oh yeah, I could never do what Jackie does, or Brandon, or it's like, no, you're seeing and hearing this because it's such a close vibrational match. You've attracted it into your world.
Oh, so great, Brandon.
So get your intention right. Just get your intention right, and know it's going to involve service in some way, and just joyously skip turning over rocks with that childlike wonder of, it's not if, but when. Lest you become like a child, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven. The one Bible verse I quote regularly. It's like, it's true. That bring that energy, and then it will be shown in so the intention, pure service, and the money and all the other things follow as a result of that. Don't do it just for money.
So beautiful. Last question. This is such a great interview, but last question. What's your hope for humanity as we continue to open up, to become more conscious? And yet, the planet is suffering. The climate is is suffering. Politics are suffering. There's a lot going on in the world, man. So there's this, this yin and yang, this awakening and darkening, if you will, all at the same time. Inside of that, you're present to it, you're aware of it, you're in the face of being one to change it. What's your hope for humanity?
At the end of the day, when all the puzzle pieces go back in the box, it's all happening for love. Source, God, higher self, it is love, it is one, but without contrast, that means nothing. So you've never seen a great work of art without shadow in it. It's a necessary tool for, my brother, when he was early 20s, he got pulled, he got a ticket, he forgot to pay it. Years later, he got pulled over. They said, oh, you have a warrant for your arrest. Now this is his season. It's cancer season right now. He's very sensitive. This person in jail, it's like they took him to jail for like 4 or 5 days. He gets out late night. They let him out after midnight. I go pick him up, bring him home. It's 1:30 in the morning, 2 in the morning. I cook him a Hot Pocket. To this day, if you ask him, what is the best meal you've ever had? Guess what he'll tell you? That Hot Pocket. Because the contrast of his experience and the pain and the darkness that he just experienced made it mean something. That Hot Pocket, if that's all he ate for every day for eternity, he would hate it. He loved it because of the contrast of what he had. So that's what mankind is doing. If you look at a butterfly mid-chrysalis, it's all messy. The caterpillar cells have melted into a goo, and it's a very messy moment, but it's a snapshot. This is a snapshot. And one of the things that I talk about in my book, The Golden Key, is that you are the lead actor, director, star in your own private universe.
Yeah.
And you are it. In God, source, higher self is so vast, it can create a whole world where you're the star. And when we're on the star, and when we all are the stars of our own private movie, and everyone in it are props reflecting us back to us. So are you going to make it? What is the world going to make it? I don't know. Where are you at vibrationally? Because there's many timelines. Source, God, higher self plays out all the potentials.
All the time.
From this moment forward, there's more chaos, destruction, the end of the earth, probably. There's also utopian. This is my belief. Utopian. We make it to the butterfly stage of our evolution. Which one are you going to step into? Let's say right now you are saying, I'm going to the butterfly world and I'm being that vibrationally. You be it to see it. You know, most people are doing something like work in order to have something like money, in order to be something like happy, but you be something like happy. And then you find yourself doing and having the things that are a reflection. So you're being the butterfly energy, despite all the noise out there. Let's say I'm over here saying the end of the world is nigh. It's all lost. We're like ships passing in the night. 20 years from now could be in that utopian world. Meanwhile, I'm in the middle of a nuclear holocaust. There may be another Jackie character there, by the way, who took a different path. So it's like, once you start understanding there is no out there, you're navigating realities with your energy. It's really empowering.
So great. There is no out there. You are navigating energies with your vibration, with your energy. That is so brilliant. I love that.
So it's real.
Yeah. So that's what I want people to take away. So much of what you said today, just huge nuggets. Tell people how they can get your book. And there's some unique features of this book that I'd love you to tell people about.
There absolutely is. So The Golden Key, Modern Alchemy to Unlock Infinite Abundance, I released a few months ago. And it's really 25 years of deep exploration around these topics, distilled into 100 pages to read, or just over 3 hours if you listen to the audio or ebook, the audiobook. And what I decided to do was, I always, for better or for worse, want to do things to the beat of my own drum. And instead of going down the path of a traditional publisher and all of that, I decided, well, what is the way I can serve all the other me's out there, the extensions of self? The way I believe I can serve mankind the most is by getting this information that I've spent 25 years just, trial, error, testing, exploring. And so I want to gift this book is what I decided. So the audio and or ebook, and I want to sort of gamify that process. So I decided, anyone who gets it can also create a golden key code where they can give it to others. And then there's a game at the end of it that I invite people to play. And if they play that, there's, they actually optionally can pay for the book after reading it. And then we share that with everyone. It was an opportunity for me to walk the talk of, how do you create abundance? By giving things away, and sharing, and, when it's in the right context. Right. And so that's what I did. So anyone who would like to, get the audio and or ebook, they can go to goldenkey.gift. If you use the code CLS, you can, get it for free. And then ultimately you could use your own code and create your own code if you felt inspired to do so, and
share it with others.
You'll see all about it.
So great. Super, super fun. Thank you so much for sharing that with people, for the way that you did it. I mean, it speaks volumes just of you, of the universe that you are, the creativity, the generosity, the practicality, and your commitment to these principles and the principles that you teach, live, and espouse. So thank you so much, Brandon Beacham. It was wonderful to be with you. And I look forward to our next time together.
Yes. Thank you, Jackie. I do a lot of these. I've been doing a lot of these in support of the show. And I talk to a lot of people on my own show, the Positive Head podcast. And I got to say that, it's only so often where it feels like, this truly feels like a friend. And I definitely feel that from you. And so thank you for being.
Awesome. Thank you so much.